It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, the Deadpool 3 cameo list just keeps on growing, Mike. On and on and on and on. It's probably shorter to say who's not in this movie at this point, but we'll talk about that later. Spider-Man 2, not the movies, the games, gets a Hall H panel later this month, Mike.
Oh.
I was yeah, right, that was my reaction. I was like, oh, well then. Oh, got the Spider-Man money over there, do you? Guardians of the Galaxy hits digital viewing, streaming. It's not really streaming, it's the purchasing. We'll talk about that and what that means and more.
Yes, I knew it hit digital because I started to see higher quality GIFs on social media of like parts of the movie that like weren't in the trailers. I was like, I think this movie might be out because you're not going to see that like big, what was it, King Groot? Is that his name?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
It's like, this is the first King Groot GIF I've seen. So yeah, I think it must be out there in the world. People downloading it.
I would say most of my news articles become like, oh, here's deleted scenes, like officially released. I'm like, they're not officially released. You just have access to them now. So like that's how I knew something was on. I was like, oh, there's like 5 or 6 deleted scenes we're seeing here. So that's got to be somewhere to purchase at this point. But
yeah, it's essentially turned into I guess free marketing is probably how they spin it. But even though like, oh, everyone's pirating our bonus features, but it's making articles, makes people want to watch it again.
Right. They're like, and that's the thing. Like in Marvel, I don't think there's ever been a deleted scene that's affected the overall story of the MCU, right? Like if it's a deleted scene, it doesn't affect the official canon, right, of MCU. But you know, with this one, there's like ones like, you know, the High Evolutionary, they show his fate after, you know, they get him off of his exploding ship, like he's in a prison on nowhere, and then there's and people are like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, it means nothing. It means they cut this for a reason. He can live or he can die in the future. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But it is fun to watch it. That they actually rendered out, you know, Rocket and everything for those scenes.
Yeah, I was scrolling through TikTok, and the film side of TikTok served up a like bonus feature making of James Cameron The Abyss back in the day, which if you're unfamiliar with the movie, it was, you know, James Cameron's love affair of water in full force, where he was making a movie about like underwater scientists at a facility and this whole tank and everything that they had to build. And then I see like in the comments of like, oh, if you're going to watch this movie, make sure you watch like the director's cut. Like it totally changes like the meaning or tone of the movie or whatever. And I'm just like, just when I was about to sit down and rewatch this movie, now I got to go through the anxiety-inducing path of trying to find the director's cut of this movie, because I can't for the life of me watch this movie again for the first time in probably like 25 years. Like weirdly enough, the first time I saw The Abyss, I was like a child, so I barely remember it. So now I have to track down the right version. It's like Blade Runner all over again, Chris. It drives me crazy. Like, just make one version of the movie and make it the right one, people.
I guess, I mean, the thing is that we forget in the 2000s, right, when DVDs were coming out, they were like, we gotta make everything unrated and uncut and put every amount of footage we have in this thing because people are just gonna buy these up. So
that's a good point. I never really thought about it from that perspective of just like, there could have been just a perfectly decent, fine movie on the shelf that everyone liked, but then the studio was just like, hey, if we bring the director back in and just have him like touch one key on the keyboard, that's a director's cut, and we can remarket and sell this again.
Exactly. They're like, we already have the footage. Why don't we just slap it in here unfinished, or we already finished it and cut it out for time or whatever. So I blame the DVD salesman, right, from the mid 2000s for every bit of uncut, unrated director's versions, you know, we have out there. You know, because I think there's at least, you know, you mentioned Blade Runner, that's great. Then we have the other side where George Lucas goes through and he's like, no, the version I just put out last is the only version I'm going to ever let you watch again. You don't get to see the originals. You're not going to be able to find the theatrical cut ever again. because I'm George Lucas and that's what I say. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever you want, dude. So someone will make this work. But it's funny you mentioned the Abyss because is that's the one that like there's aliens, right? In the water, they find the alien ship under the sea. Is that right?
I think so. I vaguely remember another part of the movie that often gets brought up is there's like a CG character in it that's like reflective in a way because they're like animating like water. Yeah, I don't remember if it's like aliens or what exactly it is, but yeah, something along those lines. Something mysterious happens at this underwater, research facility is kind of like the log line of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know how we got on this track, but yes, absolutely. the digital extended cuts. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. So, if you need help finding that, Mike, we'll help you find it. Wink, wink. But but yeah. So you dove into a couple movies that have fully CGI characters here, going into one of these. I guess minus the face, right? Everything else is CG. So go on and dive into this first movie. You watched this week.
Chris, I went on a whole diatribe last week about like how I'm jaded and I don't enjoy anything anymore, especially going to the movie theater. And Ex Machina was a film that I never got a chance to go see in the theater, and I never watched it when it came out and was released. And I think this one was even nominated. I don't know if it won anything, but I feel like I remember this being in like the nomination like conversation back in 2014 for the Academy. But I just saw it on HBO Max and I was like, hey, I haven't seen this movie. I'm just going to head and give it a watch. And like, it's just like it's one of my favorite ways I think to watch a movie is I know this movie's going to be good because I heard a lot of people talk about it, but it's been 9 years since it came out. So any sort of like online discourse or opinions or reviews or whatever, all that stuff has just fallen by the wayside. And it just exists purely as a movie for me to enjoy. And it was great. I just sat down in the comfort of my own home, watched Ex Machina, and it was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was crazy. Like you were talking about seeing the face superimposed onto a CG model, or I'm sure they have like behind the scenes VFX of how they kind of made this artificial intelligence robot character. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, is this a fully CG character? And then they're putting a human face on it, or are they like digitally removing the human body and then adding CG parts? It's probably like a mixture of two of them. But watching it, I was just like, man, we've come such a long way since 2014. This effect that I'm seeing in this like film right now could be done like on people's phones, like, maybe not exactly to the level of polish, but I just thought it was pretty impressive of just how quickly technology catches up. And like, not only could you do some of this within your phone now, you could just like steal anybody's face anywhere, if you have enough pictures of samples of their face. So I just thought that was pretty wild. But Ex Machina streaming on, I guess technically Max, even though I always wanted to call it HBO Max because it feels weird just calling it Max, but that's streaming over there. It was fun. I liked it. And then we decided to keep the Max train running, and we watched The Menu, which was another Oscar-nominated movie, which I don't believe won anything either, as far as I can remember, that came out last year. And it's pretty fun. I don't really want to say anything else about it. There's kind of like a fun, I don't necessarily want to call it twist, but if you go in not expecting anything or not knowing, it's a little bit more exciting. But the basic setup is Ralph Fiennes, is that the actor that played Voldemort?
Yes. He's in it. Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy.
So Ralph Fiennes basically kind of plays a very highly decorated, Michelin star chef, this artist auteur that his medium is basically food, is kind of how it's painted. And he has such an exclusive restaurant. It's like $1,200 just for a seat, and there's only so many people that get invited. So you start the movie where this is a very special night, a very special menu, a very special course, and you see why the chef has created a special. And it's technically listed under like comedy, But it to me, it feels like one of those moves where it's just like, oh, we're not going to get nominated in any other category unless we call it a comedy. I mean, there's definitely humor elements in it, but it's definitely more like drama, suspense with kind of comedy sprinkled in a way. But yeah, go catch the menu. It was a fun surprise for sure. But those were the two films that I checked out this week. Chris, you've been doing something a little bit more immersive. I'd say.
I would say I chose this week to go with an experience-based week rather than sitting and watching a lot of things. So the first thing I've dived into is VR racing simulators. And if you've talked to me in the past 2 weeks, I've literally been trying to figure out how this works. And I bought a racing seat last week, and a seat with a wheel and pedals. I was able to hook it up to a computer, and actually Steam has their summer sale going on, so I bought this game. It's a racing game. Something Corsi, Assetto Corsi or something like that. I forget the name. It's an Italian name. Never heard of this game before, right? But imagine Gran Turismo, right? If you will, kind of racing stuff. And I plugged in my Oculus Quest 2 to my computer, and I was able to play this entire game with the wheel and pedals in VR. And it is a wild experience because, for a while you're like, oh, this is fun. You're looking around, you're racing, you're trying not to crash and wreck your car. You don't have the momentum of driving a real car, so you don't get that speed feel, right, that you would get like when you're like going back in your seat when you're going forward faster forward when you're slowing down. So that's interesting. But after about 3 laps on the same track, I forgot I was like not driving a car, and I crashed, and because I was just goofing around trying to figure out how fast I could go and what the grip was, and I hit a wall for it and spun around. So I immediately turned around to look to reverse myself and realized I'm still tethered to this headset with the cords. I'm like, oh, this is wild. So I had to take a break after that to really unground myself. But I think there's the idea of VR headsets and things you can do with them, playing Beat Saber, going for relaxing meditative experiences, watching content, things like that, playing games. But like this was very interesting to use a portable headset with a USB-C cable into a PC as the brains and really get a high level game feel just by doing that. And I think that's a really, really fun way to think of how to use these, I wouldn't say cheaper headsets, but a headset that doesn't have the power to run this game itself, using something else as the brains to push that and using it as the viewfinder, if you will, at the end of the day. I don't know where, like, my whole goal for this, for everyone involved, is to just get a really cool Mario Kart going. Like, it's not VR Mario Kart, but like, like the arcade Mario Karts and stuff like that. The VR thing's just a little extra bonus, but I think it would be fun to do, like, real racing's fun, but I find real racing boring, right? Like, you're in line, like, if it ain't rubbing, it's not racing, Mike. So I want to be crashing and like.
Chris
really
is like, I want to be in the Mushroom Kingdom. If I'm not there, what's the point of the song?
I want to be throwing turtles left and right. I want to be what it feels like to be in the cart. So if I can find me a Mario Kart mod where I'm in the cart and driving, I think that'll be fun. But I really can't. This has been fun mixing and matching technology, right? Like a PC game, a racing simulator, and a VR headset. How can I take these three things and make it work together? And I'm not the first person to do this by any means, or tutorials I followed to get where I wanted, but I think it's really cool to do that and kind of have that experience, especially if you're into racing games. And then on Thursday, I went to my very first Ohio Valley Wrestling match, Mike. So this was a fun event. I've a friend of mine, Adam, he goes by Beard of Pop on YouTube. He does a YouTube channel. He'll sell my Funkos. He's going to do a video in a wrestling ring coming up soon, where for his YouTube channel. I'm gonna help him film it. And so we were like, let's go get the lay of the land. So we went to their pay-per-view match, Mike, for Independence Rage. This wrestling. thing.
So this is like theatrical wrestling. I thought you went to some sort of like high school wrestling match. And I was like, why is this in the show notes?
No, the Ohio Valley Wrestling is a theatrical, like imagine like a C-level WWE or AEW kind of thing. And
Farm League.
Pretty much. But like, so it come find out it was a pay-per-view on Fight TV to watch this if you were not local to this event, Mike. And I get there and I look up, and what do I see? I see a belt hanging from the ceiling, and you know what that means. I get a witness, Mike.
There's ladders coming.
There's
out.
a ladder match, and I was at that point. I was like, This is so fake. You can see they're not hitting each other. You can see that nothing's really connected. There's just loud slapping sounds. I as soon as the ladders came out, I was having a good time. I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. They put out 2 ladders, and then once they got in the ladder, and obviously for theatrics, Mike, they're out here to kill time. They can't climb a ladder to save their life, right? Like you know how to climb a ladder up pretty quick. They're like, oh, I'm 1 ring short. Oh, and just keep swinging at it rather than trying to step up a thing and grab it. So obviously it's fake as can be, but it's so fun. They bring out a 3rd ladder. They dig out a ladder from underneath the ring, Mike. That's how many ladders had to get into this whole event.
That's great.
And I have like a 4-second clip of a guy. So at the end of this match to end it, and then spoilers if you don't want to know how this match ends. One guy gets up the rung. The other guy's on the other ladder. He kicks that ladder over, falls off the ring through a table, Mike.
Oh my God, that poor table.
Well, the table broke, but also the guy ended up pretty bloody. I don't think it was supposed to happen that way. But either way, it was very entertaining to watch, and just
hey, you never know, Chris. You could be watching the next Hollywood breakout star. Move up to the bigger leagues of wrestling, sign a contract for a 12-picture deal, and you don't know. They could be the next big, muscly bound comic book character.
They need more people in Fast and Furious franchise, Mike, wrestlers to carry the franchise, is what I'm hearing from you. But most of these guys were just the way. They were wrestling for too long, and they have nowhere to go, and they don't want to give it up, so they end up in these leagues. So very, very fun, very hilarious times. And last night I went and saw a band. It's a cover band, but like a parody band called Sabbath. And I've talked about. I'm pretty sure we were recording this when I saw them years ago on it locally.
Yeah, but please let the audience know, why does Black replace with Mac?
So this is a Black Sabbath parody band where they sing songs about fast food, specifically McDonald's. So the lead singer is Ronald Osborne. He's not Ozzy Osbourne. He's Ronald Osborne. He wears the clown makeup and everything, but he sounds like Ozzy. He even talks like it the whole thing. You have Slayer McCheese on guitar, Grim Alice Cooper on bass, and then the Hamburglar, I forget his name, is on drums, essentially. And they're in these big costumes the whole time, like the guitarist and bass in these big costumes. You don't see their face, and they can play these songs like nothing else in these huge ass costumes, Mike. Like that was, I think, the most impressive part. Like, rather than just like, oh, they're doing fast food versions of, like, instead of Iron Man, it's Frying Pan kind of thing, right? And instead of the song Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath, it's Sweet Beef. Like, I get it. I understand the parody, but like their performance, they've actually, from the last time I saw them, I'm like, okay, I get this. This time they've got a show they're doing, right? Like, there's more shtick in between. They're giving other fast food places nicknames like Chick-fil-A, CDC, stuff like that.
Well, Chris, I do kind of feel like you might be burying the lead here, because I don't know if there's more to be told, but we do know there is a very viral meme going around
of
with
the
a certain birthday, and I gotta know, did they make reference to it at all?
They did. They said the Grimace Shake, and then he's in the costume, kind of essentially twerking, if you will, giving it a shake. But that's about it. They've been around for years, so like that just happened to be there, but that was about as far as we got with the Grimace Shake, if you will.
Hey, that's enough. The fact that a Grimace was there, that's all they needed.
Yeah, so it was a fun performance. The other part of this is there's a local company called Louisville Vegan Jerky. It's a company that's run local, so it's vegan beef jerky, if you will. And they actually did a promotion with them to do a cheeseburger-flavored vegan beef jerky, and the first 100 people who bought something at the merch tent got a free bag of it. So I came home with the bag. I've not had a chance to sample it yet, but if you're into beef jerky and you're vegan or vegetarian, this would probably be kind of up your alley, if you will. Yeah, so.
I can't speak for that specific brand, but I have tried Beyond Meat's jerky just out of sheer curiosity. I had extremely low expectations for it, but weirdly enough, the Beyond Meat brand of jerky, surprisingly close to being real jerky. So if that's something that you ever wanted to explore, I don't know about this brand. I don't know if they're formulating it differently, but I can at least praise the Beyond Meat jerky.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to trying it, but like someone's like, "You're not going to eat it there." I'm like, if this disagrees with me and I have to go to the bathroom for the rest of the show, I'm not going to be happy. So I'm going to wait till I get to a controlled environment to do this.
Yeah,
vegan beef jerky. But absolutely, those were some great experiences this week. And this last bit is more of a reminder / flag for people who are interested in this. Walmart and Amazon, and you mentioned Target as well before the show, Mike, have their big summer sale days this week. So Prime Days, Walmart Plus sales, summer sales, and then Target, whatever they're calling theirs this week. And there's a couple things, we bring this up. One, if you're looking to upgrade your at-home movie theater experiences, I've seen TVs on sale. I assume there's going to be DVDs, Blu-rays, HD DVDs on sale at some point. I don't know what those are. But today, Walmart Plus for $50 for a year. You can get Walmart Plus and all those benefits and Paramount Plus. So if you're listening to this, go see if that's still available. If you're a Paramount Plus, it will probably save you money on Paramount Plus if you're one of the few people still watching this. As they go to rip everything off of there, even Star Trek stuff, which is weird. The other part is Prime Days. If you're a Prime member, they have 3 months of Amazon's Kindle Unlimited, which I was like, oh, these are books. Signed up for my wife so she could read her books. But the first thing it recommended me was comic books, Mike. So in the Kindle app on Amazon, you can get comic books. So for those who may be interested in reading books or seeing what's in there, the Kindle Unlimited 3-month deal, if you go look it up, might be for you. So I thought those were relevant and thought I'd bring them out here. But if you're looking for anything else on sale, this week would probably be the time to get it if you want to. So yeah, that's the big red flags. And then that's going to bring us into our first topic, Mike. How about this? Let's just jump into it here. Tomorrow for me, I don't know about anybody else, but tomorrow I have tickets to go see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So I thought they'd give it different names, but it is Part 1. So tomorrow, in theaters this week, Mission Impossible returns. Tom Cruise out here doing stunts, trying to kill himself, no matter what he does. But yeah.
I feel like Part 1 should be at least subtly an asterisk, just because Tom Cruise has been out there saying that he wants to play Ethan Hunt until like his 80s. He just wants to keep being this character. So I get his enthusiasm, right? And I'm not saying that maybe there's not a version of this franchise that could pivot in that direction. But, they're out here pitching Dead Reckoning being this finality to, the world and the character in this franchise. And then he's also out there saying, no, I don't want to stop. Kind of like a football player that says they retire and then oh, no, I'll never retire because of the love of the game or whatever. So I feel like he's doing a disservice to this franchise of just okay, well, this is like Vin Diesel saying there might be a third part, to Fast Ted. And so
I could see him, just saying Dead Reckoning was finality, is more of a hey, we're just saying it because we don't want people to think that it's more. We want to make sure you think Ethan, what's his name, Ethan, is it Hunt could die in these movies, right? We don't want to say, oh, there's going to be more because they won't kill him, right? But I think even if Dead Reckoning Part 2, I don't think it'll be a Part 3. I think let's do another Mission Impossible, right? And give it a new name. Remember when they tried to get Jeremy Renner as the replacement for him 4 movies ago? When he was Jeremy Renner is he's going to be the new Mission Impossible guy. He's going to replace Tom Cruise. He's going to replace was it Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, right? They were giving him everything, and then this is nothing against him, but he did get hurt pretty badly earlier this year with a snowmobile accident. So I don't think he's going to be doing any of those anytime soon. But I'm excited to watch this simply because I think Mission Impossible movies are solid, whether you like Tom Cruise or not. They're always solid films, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with them. They have some pretty good action set pieces, really fun spy thrillers, and after the fun time that Top Gun Maverick was, I'm like, yeah, I'll give him another go in theaters, right? This is also a good time to watch.
One of the few franchises out there in the world with an iconic sound, or a theme, anthem, song, right? Everybody knows the Mission Impossible theme, and they know it too, so they usually hold it back until the most intense part of the movies, and they throw in some of those dun 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 stingers, and then at the biggest moment, the full themes blaring, and they're like, yes. So they got that secret hack, you know.
But right, that's what you call the cheat code, right? The cheat code, the soundtrack. Like Indiana Jones had its, its soundtrack, and everybody knows the Harry Potter stuff. So I'm excited to kind of dive into this. This franchise has been around almost 30 years. 1996, 95, 96 when that first one came out. So it's really gone on forever, if you will. So I'm excited to kind of dive back into it. I had a good time watching the last ones. Did you ever watch Mission Impossible Fallout? That's the one. Yeah, go ahead.
With Superman in it?
Yeah, Henry Cavill. Where he cocks his arms like they're guns with the sleeves. Everyone's like, oh, yeah. That was Gunn. So they're always solid hits, right? I don't think it's going to be a bad time. I'm avoiding reviews, trying to go as blind as I can, but they are doing an early preview tomorrow locally, so we're going to go catch it on a Monday night. So that's the fun part about summer. You never know when you get to go to the theaters, because it's just wild out here, wild west of movie going. But that's coming out just as kind of a PSA. And then I guess the other side of that PSA is going to be on digital to purchase right now is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mike, as we talked about at the top of the show. And it is not on streaming. I guess that's the big thing. It's not on Disney Plus. It's not on any other thing. This is where you can get to go like that weird, awkward period in between. It's kind of still in theaters. Like you could probably go find like 1 or 2 screenings, or you can buy it $30 digital at home and watch it, or wait for it to hit streaming in like August or so. So I've never bought a movie digitally only in this period. Have you ever done that? Is something I was thinking about?
I mean, no, there's no particular reason to do it, right? If you just have a little bit more patience, right? Like if you had the patience to avoid watching it in theaters, just wait a little bit longer. And, there's a streaming service that you could subscribe to for definitely less than the price of buying it digitally for at least a month. And then at least there's a ton of other things you could watch.
And I think the other, to me, it's not really streaming and as much as, because that still hasn't really clicked that it's still within 30 days. I was like, for the same price I can buy the digital, I can buy the physical in 2 weeks and get the code to watch, own it digitally in the same method, right? I'm like, it's not, you're not double dipping, but if you're like, I could buy that, sell the physical, and then keep the code if I only wanted it digitally, right? So
there must be some accountants somewhere that have a formula. It's like, no, we don't understand them either, but they keep buying these at $30, so we'll keep selling them.
Yeah, I just looked up. Yeah, you can buy tickets and you can buy it anywhere you get movies: Apple TV, Amazon, Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Microsoft, DirecTV. Also, this is $20, so I was wrong. It's $20, Mike, instead of $30 right now. So if you haven't got a chance to catch it, watch that. But as Mike mentions, with that becomes the benefits of all the extra high-quality images and probably spoilers that are going to hit the internet in full force with this as well. One of the cool things about these releases are, the directors are, James Gunn's out. He's answering everybody's questions, whether he's Marvel or DC right now, right? So he just did the Superman cast. It sounds like they're not going to San Diego Comic-Con, but he's back again doing, I guess, interviews for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 home release. And one of the things he says that understanding Groot, rather than him just saying, I am Groot, but to hear his real voice, is that there's sort of a telepathic component of this. And you have to have been bonded with Groot for such a long time, or not long time, but you have to be really close to Groot to understand what he's saying. So that's why in Guardians 1, people aren't close to him, don't understand him, but in 2 they do, and in 3 we kind of get that there at the end, right, where we get to hear him say something other than I am Groot at the end of the day.
I mean, it is one of those funny things where, if you grew up with the classic Star Wars trilogy and with Chewbacca, I think everyone kind of just came to the agreement that we don't really need an explanation as to why some people understand Chewie and some people don't. It's just kind of like a fun, quirky thing of just some people get it and some people don't, and there's no rhyme or reason. We don't really need to put rules down. Just whenever it's the most entertaining, make it either understandable or not understandable. So I guess it's nice that James Gunn is coming out trying to come up with an explanation, but I never needed an explanation.
Yeah, he said that in the scripts, he actually wrote Groot's dialogue, right, for the people who did understand him, and for when it was scenes with people who didn't understand him, it was just I am Groot. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit about production, if you will, for that. And you mentioned Star Wars. I actually thought you were going to say R2D2 instead of Chewbacca, but I guess that's both kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, there are other characters.
Yeah, I was like, Star Wars did a really good job of having two. I wouldn't say one note, but like very non-dialogue required characters. That's really fun. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you can buy it now. Go see it in theaters or wait, and it'll be on streaming here before too long. To continue that, the legendary Star-Lord, right? James Gunn has confirmed plans for Star-Lord's adventures on Earth following the trilogy wrap-up. Now, however, he will not be writing or directing this. James Gunn is not part of this, right? He's just saying that's where we put him to continue Star-Lord's story as a quote-unquote fish out of water as he acclimates to being on Earth. Like, he's technically would be at this point an alien on Earth for their standards and how they operate. So I think that would be entertaining, but it's going to be sad that he's not in like a bigger pond, if you will, based on what we've seen with him so far. So
yeah, it makes you wonder, like, because I've seen the I think we kind of assumed based on the after credit scene from Guardians 3 that like, oh, this kind of feels maybe like a Disney Plus thing, right? Like a series, maybe like a mini series, right, where we just kind of see Peter acclimate and just come to terms with his life and his existence. But I've seen people out there talking this week that it could be a movie. I don't know if this idea seems big enough to be a movie, but also at the same time, I haven't exactly been super stoked with a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus stuff, so maybe I don't want it to be Marvel Disney Plus. But yeah, it does make you wonder, like, what conflict do you give Star-Lord in a continuing story, right?
Does he order a Subway sandwich, Mike? That's the whole movie. The whole movie there. He's fighting with this local Subway.
I would think that there's got to be some sort of extraterrestrial, baggage that he left out there in space that tracks Peter down, and Peter's trying to acclimate, and then like some sort of alien comes in and starts messing up his plans.
I think that's a pretty easy guess. I think there's an opportunity here, whether they view it or not. Peter is technically the son of a Celestial, right? And there's a dead Celestial sticking out of the ocean still. So, is this a Celestial based kind of thing, right? Does he have to end up maybe tagging along with the Eternals at some point? Is that how they bring the Eternals back? Is with a Star-Lord focused movie, and they're kind of there as ancillary characters?
Are you trying to tell me Harry Styles is going to be on my next Disney Plus show? And him and Peter Quill are going to go to the middle of the ocean and like coax that Celestial back into the Earth's core.
No.
That could be interesting.
I'd rather have a movie with Chris Pratt and Cameo Nanjiani goofing around as they're the buddies of this movie, Mike. That's how I feel. You leave Harry Styles in space. He's out there with Patton Oswalt's little pig character or whatever it was. Pip the Troll, that's what it was. So I think you bring Camille and Chris Pratt, and they're having like a big celestial powwow on Earth, doing whatever it is that they want to do. But I could see it. When you mention this, I don't think it'll be a Disney Plus thing. After hearing this from James Gunn, I view it more probably as the movie side, right? Like I don't think Chris Pratt would want to do a series.
Well, I mean, I could see James Gunn being like a producer just purely on the just legal line of like he kind of invented these versions of the characters, right? But I can't imagine he would be heavily creatively involved. Right. Like I feel like this would be a scenario where there's a new director, just a new creative team taking over the characters. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't is this I don't think they'd ever get Edgar Wright back, but would Edgar Wright, would this be an opportunity for him to make it like a quirky kind of thing?
Yeah, if he's not too jaded, it could be possible.
Yeah, I don't even know who I'd put in this, but I'm sure we'll find out more later. As they Marvel solidifies their plan for the next 10 years. Right, we've got Star Wars no Avatar till 2031, so I'm sure they'll figure the Marvel stuff out too as they plan ahead for all their investors. Let's shift gears into Deadpool. Deadpool 3, Mike. Filming currently, right? The big confirmation this week, as you've probably seen in our thumbnail, is that Jennifer Garner is going to return as Elektra. This will be her third outing as this character, Mike, because most people don't realize she wasn't only in Daredevil, she had her own movie in 2005. So,
which I'm sure will be the quality of which will be referenced in this movie.
Yeah. Speaking of movies that had director's cut, Daredevil had a director's cut that made that movie way better, by the way, in case you didn't know that. And I only know that because I had the DVD version of that movie. Couldn't find it anywhere else. But I think, from what I'm hearing, rumors are I'm going to go ahead and tag this on. Other Fox properties that will show up include Professor X with Patrick Stewart returning, which he has done in Doctor Strange, in McKellan returning as Magneto, but also a scene with Channing Tatum finally getting his Gambit role that he's worked for the past several years.
Yeah, the power of the goofiness of Ryan Reynolds and the character of Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's coming along at a good time, right? We know that the X-Men are going to be introduced sooner rather than later. So this could just be like a good, just holistic way to just like cap all of these kind of random ass X-Men things up. Mm-hmm. It seems like a good tool, a good avenue for sure.
Yeah, because he would skewer them as well, right? Like he's gonna obviously, I feel he's gonna make fun of the multiverse. He's gonna be like, well, this seems really convenient, right? Like that we can just do this and be very meta about it. But it's gonna be fun for these people to return to these characters after 20 plus years of doing those roles.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if they could make it work. I'd like to see it, but we all got to see the Kevin robot that was in the She-Hulk show. It would be funny to see if that robot would pop up again, because I feel like it would fit really well in this universe. And hell, I don't know if She-Hulk pops up or if that's just too much third wall breaking, or maybe just enough in one scene together. There was other like leaked kind of like set photos of Deadpool's suit on set that I saw this week. Not much to look at here. Like it's just kind of like it's like a slight variation difference. I would say it's even less of a change than when you got to see Chris Evans' Captain America outfit change. Like those would at least change in like color tone and material and patterning, but all very recognizably Captain America. This is just this looks like just a slightly different Deadpool. So really not much to go off of here with those leaks.
Yeah, the only thing I could get out of it was like Ryan Reynolds was taking this mask off and his hair is just maintaining. And I'm like, well, how's he doing this? Like, that is so unfair to the rest of us. The other thing, I think we talked about this last week or the week before, Ben Affleck has supposedly been back on set as well, possibly playing Daredevil. The only, other things I can think of that might be touched here, maybe Blade, if they want to do Wesley Snipes, is something that, no one has really talked about, possibly diving into it. I've heard very loose rumors of some of the Fantastic Four characters from the era coming as well, like a Jessica Alba or something like that.
I could see something humorous where Silver Surfer is there being used as a vanity mirror for Ryan.
He's gonna make fun of that big cloud Galactus version, right? Like everyone made fun of the Galactus from that era. But honestly, just kind of look at it, I'm like, there's really not many, like, other than maybe a deep Howard the Duck reference from the live action movie. Like, what else could he really throw in here? Like, at this point, like, I don't even know what you could put in at this point that they're already not doing.
Yeah, well, I don't. So this is the nature of the internet is, unless you do like a couple searches deep into a tweet that you see, you can never be entirely sure if it's a joke or if it's like a rumor or what. But I saw something this morning where there was initial rumors that Arnold Schwarzenegger could be in this movie as his character from The Last Action Hero, which doesn't make any sense. But I mean, I didn't bother to Google if Last Action Hero was like a Fox property and if it's even possible. But I would say tonally it kind of fits with what they're doing here. But as I said before, I didn't bother to look into it. It could have just been a joke. So it seems like everything's fair game here for Deadpool. I think the biggest question to me is what happens at the end of this movie, right? Is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool going to be launched into a more proper universe? Is he still going to be in this weird multi-dimensional time traveling like goof around? What exactly is going to happen? That's the big question. But it seems like we'll have fun along the way. And I'm also happy that this has been in development and still had time to kind of be flexible after the Chapek Iger switch debacle. So hopefully some of these like notes have been just ironed out. I just want a good movie. Yeah. That's all.
I just looked at. I have a list of non-MCU Marvel movies. What if we got Thomas Jane's Punisher in there? Remember when he was that? That wasn't a Fox. I'm pretty sure that was like a Lionsgate Universal. Or we get the return of Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage would be the cameo king this year.
Oh my god! I don't play the game Dead by Daylight, but apparently Nicolas Cage was added to it, and somebody just like made a video where they just scraped all of his voice lines from it. So if you just listen to them all out of context, God, even within context, they wouldn't make any sense. He's just crazy. He's like so unhinged in that voice booth. It is hilarious. So yeah, please, please bring him to set. Yeah. The funny thing is like Nick Cage is like so odd and specific. Like any set he's on, he like thinks he's like making like fine art, and just being on the Deadpool 3 set where everyone's just kind of like goofing and he's just like being weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, I think he's embraced the weirdness, right? Like I think Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance, where he like really goes unhinged Ghost Rider, is one of my favorite ones of his. So if you've not had a chance to also watch it's the one where it was essentially Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's Willy's Wonderland. That one's pretty good. So entertaining. But yeah, he's going to be, I think, the cameo king going forward, right? He's hopefully not our new Stan Lee, but he'll be in there. But Deadpool 3, anything is fair game at this point. Let us know what you want to see in this, because I'm curious what's going to happen. Shang-Chi 2, Mike, the supposed title, Wreckage of Time. This movie was supposedly, according to seemingly, was going to follow after the Avengers movies, right? Because Destin Daniel Cretton is directing Kang Dynasty, but since those movies keep getting delayed, Shang-Chi 2 means that's going to be delayed as well, Mike. So when do you think we're going to get this eventually? This decade? Next decade? Are they going to give it over to another director, you think? Another person in charge? What do we do to get this? Because this is one of the best Phase 4 movies, right? It was like the second one after Black Widow, and we're like, yeah, we love this. Where's more? And nothing.
Yeah, definitely one of the betters. And I think one of the annoying things is the things that I kind of disliked about the movie were mainly because they weren't explained enough to fit within the MCU that we've been given, right? So we got to kind of see this alternate like kind of dimension, where they go to fight that, dragon and everything. Yeah. And it's never been properly kind of slotted into the MCU. It was like this brand new idea of going to this, not just another dimension. It was just extremely specific to the origins of, and then also, but the 10 rings might have like a cosmic origin. So we were really overlapping like two ideas that just feel unrooted. And I kind of thought, at least by now, we would have more answers to maybe what was happening, and we never really got anything, which is really unfortunate. We didn't even really get any payoff on the end credit scene where we got to see Bruce and Captain Marvel, or was it Bruce and I don't remember who it was.
No, it was Wong brought them back to the Sanctum, and then there was Bruce and Captain Marvel, but they were both hologrammed in. Yeah,
that's right. So it's just like, am I gonna have to wait until 2 Avengers movies, I mean, I got to imagine Shang-Chi pops back up in some other avenue before we see his second movie.
The 10 rings symbol was in Miss Marvel, remember? In one of when they went and found her bangles as well. So, and they're saying that some of Kang's technology looks like, the 10 ring stuff from Quantumania. So I think there's little hints, but right, like, it is the biggest dangling question mark, because I feel, you mentioned, we don't have the answers. I think the second movie will answer those questions for us, right? Like, they're going to be like, well, is this dimension affected by multiverse travel? Is this a cosmic or time-based technology? How are these rings powered? I think we're going to get that, but boy, they are just dragging their feet to get there.
Yeah. And it's like, listen, it's not like I don't have imagination. I could probably make educated guesses that could be right. But one thing that's really been bothering me, and we're not really particularly going to be talking about the next episode
I've not seen it yet,
of Secret Invasion.
I've not seen it, so that's why.
But there does seem to be like a theme that I've been seeing with people talking about Secret Invasion, where if something isn't explained or if something is just kind of like half-heartedly like glossed over, all of these people will pop up in like comment sections explaining it. But it's just like, no, the work should not be on the viewer to go on the internet to find a fanboy to explain the story to them. This stuff should be explained within the content that's being made and presented to the audience. Like, so that's one thing that bothers me. Like the exploration of talking about things online is definitely an important part of a fandom and can make things more enriching and more fun. But you can't be filling key holes with just people's theories out there online, Yeah, looking forward to Shang-Chi kind of getting a little bit more explanation. It's a shame that we're going to be waiting a while.
Yeah, this is one of those things like, I think it might have been maybe not necessarily a sleeper hit for them, but I don't think they expected the great feedback for it, right, in that moment. So, they had really good action scenes where we just want to know when it's going to happen, because I think they deserve a second one of these before we even get these Avengers movies that were at the end of phase 3 more phases, right? Shang-Chi's second movie of phase 4, we're not going to get him until phase 7. It's a little unfair at the end of the day for people. So I'd like to see more. In the regards of characters returning, What If, Jeffrey Wright, the voice of the Watcher in the What If series, is set to return as the Watcher this year, but not in What If Season 2, because it's not this year. So the rumor, or not the rumor, we're all presuming this to be Loki, right? That makes sense, where you have the Watcher and someone traveling the multiverse.
Trying to tell me the Watcher is not going to be an Echo? Just up into the sky watching her adventure?
Possibly. He could do a voiceover beforehand. However, the same person who's reported this says that there's another project this year that has not been announced yet for Marvel. Mm-hmm. They did this last year with the special presentations, right? Remember, we knew about the holiday special, but Werewolf by Night wasn't even officially announced until like a month before it released. So
now we had that strong rumor / leak that the Silver Surfer could possibly be getting a special presentation, but I don't remember if that was possibly rumored for this year.
Sentry was this year. However, with Thunderbolts not being in production due to the writer's strike, I don't know. Possibly this may not even meet this year, right, at this point. So any special presentation. So I don't know.
I mean,
what would happen?
Maybe it's strictly a special presentation for the Watcher. I mean, I could envision that being a possibility. I don't know.
What if it's a special presentation is the Watcher doing like a what you've missed kind of thing? Like a recap episode of
Chris,
what?
Maybe this is what I have been begging for years now. Somebody to sit down on a leather chair, look straight to the camera, and just explain everything that's been happening and just make it all canon. Like, the Watcher is the exact type of character that could do it. It could just be this amazing tour de force performance of because Jeffrey Wright has such an amazing voice. He could just be speaking through these soliloquies and everything. I don't know. It would be a tight needle to thread, for sure. But it could be kind of cool.
But it's an easy thing to film, right? Like, he's using footage and scenes from other films, right, to make his points. So I mean, I think it would be funny to do, like, how TV shows used to do recaps like every 50 episodes, like, and here's a look back through the years. Oh yeah,
they basically wanted a free episode with like no budget.
Yeah, pretty much. So they could definitely do that, and I think it'd be fun. It'd be very meta. I'd be down for it at the end of the day. So, well, is that true? No, but Kevin, if you're listening, we don't need credit. Just know that it came from us at the end of the day for that. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright, great actor. I think he did great as a Watcher. In the What If show, I forget that even existed, right? Like, I always forget What If was a
which
show.
Which is a bit of a shame, since the production schedules are so long when it comes to animation, that by the time we get What If Season 2, I have a feeling a lot of those What Ifs might feel a little less special. They'll almost be a little behind, you know?
So I think, well, we know one is from at least season 1, right? That they delayed. But I think from what we heard and what we talked about before, these new What Ifs are less retelling phase 1 through 3 stories, and they're more focusing on the new characters and telling new stories. I do think another one is a Marvel Zombies sequel, followed before the zombie show kicks off as well. But yeah, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited for him. He's a great actor, does great as the Watcher. Spider-Man 2, the game, is getting a Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con later this month. We're like 10 days away from this convention, Mike. Can you believe that? It doesn't feel like 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder, like we were talking about before with the convention kind of lacking some of the bigger presenters this year. Is this kind of hey, we got room, come on up to the convention, or if this was planned all along? Either way, I don't mind, because it sounds like we're probably going to be getting maybe another trailer, maybe another longer gameplay session, which is cool. The release date was, I don't remember when it was announced exactly, but it was somewhat recent.
Like a month ago.
October
10/20.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that they're drawing that line in the sand and being very confident about it, it sounds like they're going to hit that date.
So the focus on this panel is called like Enter the Symbiote. So it's going to probably focus on Venom and the symbiote abilities of the game, which they've not touched on, right? Everything so far has been like Kraven focused from what we've seen. So I'm excited to learn about what the Venom / symbiote abilities are, him as a character, right? As another villain for this. So I'm down. Like this game, I've not pre-ordered it for the extra suits. I'm not getting the collector statue, but I am down to play this game when it drops.
Oh, yeah. We already know we're going to love it. And this is an interesting bit of media when it comes to video games, is like usually some people try to do like one-to-one comparisons of, you know, movies, TVs to video games, because it's just kind of entertainment storytelling in general. But like, I feel like the batting average for sequels of video games are so much higher than the batting average for sequels to movies, right? So I'm extremely confident that Spider-Man 2 is going to be a great game, as opposed to like, oh, there's a sequel to another, like, you know, X superhero movie coming out. Like, well, it might not be good. I don't know. They're, you know, they don't always hit it out of the park with the second one.
Exactly. And at Spider-Man games, especially, their sequels have always been better too, right? Spider-Man 2 for Xbox and PlayStation 2 is like one of the most fond games of people of our generation. So absolutely very excited to see this and see what they bring out of Hall H and what we can possibly get leaks of, unless it's public. And if it's public, even better. That's more for them. But speaking of Spider-Man, the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, which still has the release date of March, but apparently this is rumor, and that's why I didn't put it in the news, is that they haven't even made they haven't done any of the scenes yet, Mike. They haven't animated any of this movie. But the producers have said that the Sinister Six is teased to be a huge part of the Earth 42 world that we left that movie in.
Well, somebody's got to get to it at some point in time, right? The Sinister Six has just been teased in like every piece of Spider-Man media for so many years now. Yeah. I guess if somebody's going to get to it first, it might as well be the best Spider-Man thing that we've had, which is Beyond Spider-Verse. And that's not saying the other stuff is bad. I love the Tom Holland stuff and, you know, most of the Raimi stuff.
And honestly, the first Into the Spider-Verse, right? Yeah, the first one had a sort of Sinister Six, but it was like, remember, it was like very like B-list characters that came to Aunt May's house there. They had their own Scorpion, the Prowler, Tombstone, their Dr. Octopus. You know, they had their own Sinister Six there. So this one, I'm excited to see what Earth 42's versions are, who they are, and what they look like, right? Well, the designs are great.
And also not 100% a true origin of the Sinister Six, but there is that very popular storyline where Spider-Man is part of the Sinister Six and has to help them because I think he's like being blackmailed. Right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's
like
Ultimate Six, yeah.
But, you know, if we kind of already have a version of Miles that would go along with it, you know, it makes it even a little bit easier to pull that off.
So that kind of brings me to the point, is Miles Prowler, not Miles per hour. That's a different character. Maybe he isn't evil. Maybe he's fighting the Sinister Six, or maybe he, like you mentioned, he is part of the Sinister Six in this world. Like, right? Like, does that put that into the start of the next movie in a tailspin because he is evil, or maybe it's a big setup and he's not evil, and like we're just led to believe he is. Either way, I'm very excited for this next movie to start because that was such a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know the original release is for March. I guess Q1 of next year. I don't think it's gonna. I think honestly, it's gonna be 2025. If it's what they're saying is true, and they've barely been able to kick off, production on a lot of this stuff, and reports of they were working like up into the wire to finish the last movie that we just watched, right? And they've been very vocal about they are not going to diminish the quality to hit a date. So I'm guessing a whole year push.
Oh, absolutely. If not a little longer, right? For that. So that's sad, but man, quality, you pay for quality with time. Look at James Cameron and his Avatar 2, Mike. Look at him. What do you say? Take the blue pill. No, but yeah, Spider-Man Beyond very excited to pick up and see where that movie takes us. Ahsoka is next month, Mike, on Disney Plus in August. We're like a little month and a half away from it, but the trailer was supposed to come out next weekend. However, due to Twitter being the stupidest place in the world right now, they had to delay it. So I fully expect us next weekend to be talking about an Ahsoka trailer for the upcoming show. I guess the last one, like the launch trailer, whatever they call it, right before everything. I've seen some images online of them with the it's not a memorial, but it's like a mural of the characters from the animated show that's at the end of the animated show and this. So they're really leaning into that. Like I assume all these photos and videos are from episode 1, but I'm excited to learn about the Dark Jedi and see the Return of Thrawn and how this kicks into Dave Filoni's movie in a couple of years.
Not super familiar with Rebels, as I've said before on the show, but I did see at least some people doing some like Lego minifigure leaks online of like characters that could possibly be in Ahsoka's show based on like the Lego sets, and I just look at it like I can't read this language. I don't know what this character is or what this menu. So I was like, this is paying off. This is possibly a spoiler I could be looking at, and I just don't know what I'm looking at. So
wow, I'll know that when I see it in the show. That's for sure.
Yes, there is an advantage.
So and then like you said, new lightsabers. We're down for lightsabers on this show for sure. Lastly, we're going to talk about the what's it called? Life support for Superman and Lois, the TV show on CW that got a 4th season when Gotham Knights was canceled. But apparently, one of the producers, I believe, of the show, or maybe of the network, was talking about that Superman and Lois was renewed because Warner Brothers / Discovery have all this data to see the number of viewers, the number of live stream viewers, the number of late stream viewers, their Netflix or their digital streams, their international market numbers, and everything else. Like there's big calculations and say that this is actually above the line for us at the end of the day, right? We're going to make more money doing 10 episodes than if we did the other show, which makes me think that they have all these numbers and they just will never ever release them to anybody, Mike, and that's really stupid. But again, it all comes down to calculations over here.
Yes, and also a lot of it comes down to the writer's strike too. That's one thing that they're fighting for is more transparency in streaming numbers.
Yes.
So everything is clear, especially when decisions of like cancellations or renewals are made. And also, if they want to get updated streaming residuals, those numbers will be very, very important as well. Also, speaking of the writer's strike, it does make me wonder too if that is coming up to the renewal of this show, right? They need content more than ever, and I'm not saying they're necessarily going to go find scabs to write the next season, but since this show is kind of already built out and ready to go, and they have established worlds and characters, like once the strike is over, they can just get a couple people in a room like very quickly and to write the scripts and get it going.
My guess is they may already have the road plan for season 4. Because the ending of season 3 ends on a cliffhanger from what I've heard. So my guess is they already had I wouldn't say most, but probably at least the first, if not first 2 episodes of season 2 or season 4 in the ready to go, right? Like we wrote these knowing we were going to end on a cliffhanger. So here's this, and then they use it to pitch the next season as well. But
also, if they do the standard kind of Warner Brothers playbook of they don't want too much overlap happening on the CW and in the movie universe, like we're not getting James Gunn's Superman until 2025, I think is what they said. So they got room at least for 1 or 2 more seasons of the show until they had to worry about any sort of overlap for the audience out there.
Right. Yeah, and we've talked. I think next season will be the final season. Just we don't know when it'll air, when it'll start. Right at the end of that. But this goes to show they do have those numbers. They are lying through their teeth when they say they don't. They don't want to give them up. So absolutely, all of these big companies have those numbers and should be sharing them with the people who rely on them. So that doesn't mean I'm going to watch Superman and Lois, though, Mike. Do you want to know does anyone out? Do you want to know what happened in the last episode? I think it's entertaining.
Yes, I do. Spoiler warning for Superman and Lois. We don't watch it, but I am curious.
Season 3, I heard. So in this show, they actually early on had Bizarro Superman, right, played by the same actor from a different universe. But he died. He sacrificed himself, became good, died. They found this another character who can bring people back to life. So this Lex Luthor, played by Michael Cudlitz, I think from The Walking Dead, right? He has been reviving and killing the Superman over and over again and turned him into Doomsday. So Doomsday in this universe is Bizarro Superman, like big, bulky, gross-looking kind of thing. Like imagine exactly like Zod in Man of Steel. Batman v Superman.
That's actually really clever. That seems like something that you would kind of see in an alternate world, like in a comic book, right?
Yeah.
We almost kind of seen that. I know traditionally, like the Savitar character is usually Barry Allen, the Flash, right? But that is kind of like a similar trope, right? Of like just keep putting him through awful pain. But I'm looking at it right now. I Googled it. Superman and Lois season 3 ending. It's a good look. They rendered this character pretty well. And there's kind of like this very rough, fleshy Superman crest on it. That's cool. That's cool.
The backwards S. And obviously it's the same actor, right? They don't have to hire another actor to do
And this is also just a great example, and I bring it up a lot, whereas like any idea, whether we initially think it's good or not, aka Andor or Superman and Lois, any writer can make anything good, right? If you write a good enough story, it doesn't matter what the characters are inside of it, right? So congrats on them. Oh, you sent me a little
I sent you a photo. So it ends with them, literally the last scene is Superman ends up taking Doomsday to the moon to fight instead of Earth. So they're on the moon with the Earth in the background flying at each other to attack each other.
Yeah, I can. The 3D model of Superman looks slightly strange, but
they took it from Injustice. But
it is cool though. Good on Superman and Lois.
Well, I like again you mentioned you can see the colors on Doomsday's like body from like where he's grown into that suit now, like the red leggings and the red S on him a little bit. So I'm excited to see where they pick that. How do you pick up from that in the next season, right? Like how's that going to end? So. Very, very exciting. But yeah, sorry, spoilers for that if you didn't watch it, but I think that's pretty cool for that. Well, that's the show for this week, Mike. That is it. We got everything out of the way. Low notes, but we're still having a good time over here doing it. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, what can they find you at, man?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. Ooh. That's right, Threads, folks. Me and Chris are both on that. Same as our Instagram handles, just like everybody else. And you can read my webcomic at liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to catch you, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram, FallDan87, and I guess Threads. You can't do hashtags yet, but you can tag us and comment on our stuff in there. I think that's pretty cool. You can also listen to Superhero Slate every week. And where can they find those episodes at?
Oh, all you got to do is head on over to our headquarters known as superheroslate.com. That is the avenue we post all of our links to watch our show and to get our awesome show notes, to get our upcoming release calendar, to see all of our spoiler cast and reviews all over at superheroslate.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Reach out. Let us know what you're watching, what you're into. We love our super fans, so if you want to be a super fan of this show, it's very easy. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.